Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media.
Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to the Estuary near Squamish, British Columbia, Canada. At the north end of Howe Sound, along the Sea to Sky Highway, the town of Squamish nuzzles up to the Squamish River. The climate here is an oceanic climate, with warm summers and colder winters. There are about 87 inches of precipitation that falls here each year, which creates thick stands of western cedar, Doug fir, western hemlock, and big leaf maple. The bushes beneath the upper canopy include red alder, common holly, and corn plants, which grow to form a thick and obscuring screen of emerald and brown. The animals that inhabit this temperate rainforest include black-tailed deer, elk, and moose that browse along the brushy banks of waterways. Stalking the shadows, we find predators like bobcats, coyotes, cougars, black bears, and grizzly bears. In prior decades, the industry around Squamish relied on natural resources. Industries like timber harvesting and the processing of wood products were the primary employment sources. But recently things have changed here. Old industries have faded, and new ones have risen to prominence. Tourism now tops the list as a major source of employment, and the development, like trail systems, that support it has led to some catastrophic circumstances for people in the area, as well as the grizzly bears. Around 8 p.m. on Friday, May 10th, 2024, a woman whom we will call Whilma was walking her dog, whom we will call Snoopy, along the 1.9-mile-long Estuary Trail. It is a relatively flat route that takes a little over half an hour to complete. Adjacent to town, it runs along the river on one side, with buildings, a highway, and houses along the other. Not exactly where you would expect to see a grizzly bear, let alone 3. Along Bailey Street, the estuary broadens out a bit to about half a mile wide, giving visitors a lush area to stroll along the trail to relieve stress and exercise. One of the primary rules in the estuary is that all dogs remain leashed while visitors walk, but that isn't always observed by people. As Whilma and Snoopy hiked along the trail, Snoopy became distracted by something just off the trail a bit. Whilma called and called to her dog, but Snoopy appeared very interested in whatever it was that caught his fascination. Snoopy was clearly onto something that caught his interest and couldn't be distracted from the object of his focus, no matter how much Whilma called to him. She decided to go over and investigate the situation herself after realizing Snoopy had no intention of responding to her demands. Whilma approached the edge of the trail and could see Snoopy several yards off of it, with his attention dialed into something moving in the brush. It wasn't long before Whilma saw the objects of Snoopy's attention as 2 grizzly cubs peeked from the cover. Now Whilma was a local. She was a resident of the Squamish area. She knew that the presence of grizzly cubs meant a dangerous situation, and that she was now caught in a quandary. Even though the cubs were harmless in their presence, Whilma knew that where there were grizzly cubs, there was a very protective grizzly mama not far away. Before Whilma could do anything to defuse the dangerous situation, the sensitive nose of the grizzly sow must have caught the woman's scent on the breeze. Undoubtedly, Snoopy's barking had already drawn her attention, but it wasn't clear if she knew that Whilma was nearby or not. As soon as she was aware of a human presence, the sow charged through the brush toward Whilma in an intense and determined display of power and aggression. As Whilma watched the sow grizzly close in on her, the bushes whipped and parted as she tore her path. In a split second, the grizzly had closed in on Whilma as she was paralyzed in terror at its anger. In an attack that only lasted a few seconds, the grizzly bit Whilma, then turned and disappeared back into the brush in the direction of her cubs. The speed and chaos of the sow's attack left Whilma confused and stunned. She struggled to retain her focus and ability to think as the stress paralyzed her. Though she was now safe with the bear having fled, Whilma was injured, bleeding, and in pain. The bite the sow left wasn't fatal or even serious, but the intensity and possibilities of the attack left Whilma dazed. She gathered herself and called Snoopy back to her side. The pair managed to hike back to their vehicle before receiving medical attention. Upon medical examination of her injuries, Whilma's wounds were treated, and she is expected to fully recover from them. Following the altercation, an investigation into Whilma's bear attack was launched, and a search for the sow and her cubs was underway. It lasted for several days, but neither the sow nor her cubs were observed anywhere near the attack site. Officials eventually ended up labeling the sow attack on Whilma as a defensive attack. The factors they used to determine this was the presence of the cubs and the brevity of her attack on Whilma. The presence of the dog likely aggravated the circumstances leading to the attack, but research also indicates that the presence of a dog may limit a bear attack, so results are somewhat inconclusive. The hiking trails around the estuary were closed pending the results of the investigation and opened soon after their conclusion. Wildlife officers urged visitors to give bears plenty of space and carry bear spray. There was no source indicating that Whilma was carrying bear spray or a firearm on her hike along the estuary trail the day she was attacked. Recently, the area around Squamish, particularly in Pemberton Meadows, has been lobbying for the creation of a grizzly bear management specialist. This officer would monitor the grizzlies in the area, based on reports submitted by residents, then intervene with hazing tools to drive them away from town. In cases where problem bears are identified, they may be listed as potential risks to public safety and either relocated to more remote areas or killed to prevent further incidents. Local residents have expressed concern about evolving societal views toward the presence of grizzly bears in areas occupied by human inhabitants, citing that residents of Whistler, Pemberton, Birken, and D'Arcy have had their lives influenced by the presence and threat of grizzly bears in urban or suburban areas. A resolve is forming to change how bears are handled when they visit. With grizzly numbers increasing in areas that people frequent and more people venturing into areas where they may run into bears, the situation has turned into a crisis in its most elemental form. It is clear that a hazing program is supported by residents, and previous success in locations like Big Bear, California, confirms that intervention by a wildlife specialist will help in securing public safety, as well as safety for bears, lured into the ease and protection of human habitation. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. Do you think bear spray would have prevented Whilma's attack? If Snoopy had been on a leash, could the outcome have been different? Was the sow acting to protect her cubs, or did she have a different intention? Is it time that residents in bear country insist authorities established hazing programs to drive bears out of urban and suburban areas in locations with bear populations? I will gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so please post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it.
Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.